Oh, this is Neville Gallimore from the Dallas Cowboys, and I want to give a major shout out to Mike Tag. Keep bringing the hype to the Cowboys Nation. We love and appreciate it. Now, can you dig it? Let's get it.
What's up, Cowboys Nation?
What is up? Welcome to another edition of Tag Nation. Your boy Mike Tag. Of course, you see we got Kelly K9 in the house. How you feeling, Kelly?
I'm feeling good. I'm ready to roll. We got an exciting guest, and I'm ready to hear this gentleman's thoughts as we get into some Cowboys football and other things.
Yeah, well, we're not gonna waste no more time. But make sure before we get started, you guys hit that like, subscribe, share, do all that good stuff because we're getting things rolling. But like Kelly said, we've got a great guest, phenomenal guest, and we're not going to waste any more time. It is Super Bowl champion, unfortunately not from the Dallas Cowboys, but from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Mr. Brad Johnson. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great, Mike. Hey, Kelly, how you guys doing, man?
Doing good.
Doing good.
I
Love
appreciate
that wall back there, Mike.
Pardon me?
I love that wall back there you got.
Oh, well, that's it. This is the cave. So if you don't know, this is the Cowboys cave. This is where the magic happens, the hype videos, if you hadn't seen them, the cameos, all the other stuff. We get it in here. And it's been a lifelong passion of mine as a kid. I was a fan of the Cowboys when they stunk in the 80s. And I used to write letters to players and Tom Landry. I got a Tom Landry signed picture, Tony Dorsett, Danny White, Randy White, all the old guys. So I've just kind of continued it on. I don't know what's going to happen to it when I'm either downsizing or when it's my time. I don't know if my kids want it, but hopefully I'll be able to find a home for it. It's got value to me, but you know how sports memorabilia is. You just don't know.
So, no doubt. Enjoy it.
Yeah, but I want to get started in some football, but the thing that I don't know if everyone knows, but they must because you got 64,000 followers, is you are just the king of TikTok and making these amazing videos and the amazing shots. How did you get started doing that? Is that a post-retirement kind of thing, or you've done that your whole life? It looks like it's a family affair too.
Yeah. TikTok. It's Big Bad Brad 14. So I kind of went with an incognito name, and then it's all come out. So, but during the pandemic, my kids were on TikTok and they were doing a dance video or something together, and I couldn't do the dance, so I ended up being the camera guy. And but the more I fooled around with that kind of thing, I started seeing all these trick shots that these people are making. And I grew up a basketball player. I played 2 years of basketball at Florida State, and then football, obviously. So I started putting on my videos. Originally, it was all my playing days, and then workout videos. And I started doing all these trick shots with basketball, football. And my thing is I try to make 3 or 4, maybe 5 shots in a row with some shots you've never seen before, and they all got to go in. So a lot of people they always ask, how long does it take? And sometimes just first time, first take. Sometimes I tell them it takes what it takes, which means a long time. And then it's also a lifetime of practice because I've done these sports my whole life. But there's some crazy stuff on there I hit one, it's a corner pocket, second pole from the end zone. Hits the second pole, hit it 5 in a row, which I'll buy anybody a steak dinner and first class tickets around the world if you can do it. So, but there's some crazy videos on there. I have fun with it, and hopefully everyone enjoys them.
Yeah, no, it's entertaining. And I guess the question, when you do the 3 in a row, is it edited? Do you edit, or is it you wait until you get 3 in a row or 5 in a row if it's a consecutive shot?
Yeah, it's almost like a challenge, a goal. I find myself like wanting to kick a ball over the trees. Like you can get mad out there, but I've never hit one when I was upset, and I'll never go to a different trick shot, like sequence of shots, until I finish that one. And so I'm at the point now they got really, really hard, to be honest with you. So they average about 7.5 hours to do.
Wow.
And so you talk about like, don't quit. Like it becomes, and then it's just me, a tripod, my camera. So you got to do all these different shots with two different goals and kind of keep it in the lens, But it's so when you see me celebrate, they go in. I'm telling you, it's true jubilation. And I try to do things that no one can do because I know how long it would take for them to do.
Yeah.
So it's just I have fun with it, and so
awesome.
whoever checks it out, you have a good time with it.
No, definitely check it out, man. It's amazing.
Yeah, I saw the one where you were hitting the second on the goalpost, the one that you were just referencing. I was pretty impressed by that. Do your kids ever try to give you any competition, give you a run for your money? And and if so, are you the one that always comes out on top? I'm sure as a competitor. I know I don't like letting my kids win at anything. They got to earn it. But you guys get into some friendly competition?
Well, with the TikToks, no. They're like, I don't want to be out there for 7 hours, Dad. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to hold the camera, then try. And I hate going out there with people because then they try to do trick shots. Like, you really got to get into a zone. I can't explain it. Like, it's for real when you're going now. I almost need workman's comp. It takes that much work and effort to go through. But my kids, Max and Jake, they play football at Texas A&M, but we compete heavily in ping pong, shuffleboard, darts, air hockey. I mean, you name it, bowling. Like we kind of get after it as a family, so we have fun with it all.
Yeah, Connect Four. You got one of the baddest Connect Four. Wherever you found that, I got to find out because I saw you and your wife doing it, and you guys getting some serious competition. I saw her doing a trick shot too.
She has done some trick shots. We did a family one now. Like, listen, we did all four of us hitting a basketball shot. We're doing some dance, and I can't dance, so my coordination's off. Then I start yelling at my kids because they start the clock. They start the music too fast on the deal. And then we did a football where we hit like 4 doinks in a row. So it started out like I was going to be at the 20, Max at the 15, Jake at the 10, my wife at the 5, and go doink, 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 doink. Mm-hmm. But then we got mad at each other. And then I yelled at the camera guy because he didn't have the red light on when it actually happened. So we just went to the goal line or 5-yard line and see if we could do it from there. But we have fun. It's a very competitive family. My wife, she played volleyball at South Florida, so it's an active family.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And the funny thing is like I do my videos, and everyone always asks who records them, and it's my wife. She records all these videos, and then the question is, well, how the hell is she still married to you? You're like an idiot, And they don't get the joke. Sometimes they don't get the wrestling. Yeah, it was funny. I had one guy tweet at me, and he goes, "Man, that is just some classic old school wrestling promos right there." And I said, yes, someone understands it. It's like I don't run around screaming all day, going all over the place. I'm passionate about the Cowboys, but I take it into a Ric Flair, that kind of stick. And I did it once, and then Tank Lawrence retweeted it, and I was never on Twitter. I was on it like one follower, and all of a sudden it just blew up. And then Cowboy fans are like, "Man, you got to do it again! You got to do it again!" And I just kept doing it. And now I have fun with it. I get to meet a lot of the Cowboys Nation, and I've had some players like Micah Parsons retweeted it. I was able to do a kind of a sponsor promo with Marcus Spears for Chili's one time, doing in restaurant promo. But it's been a lot of fun. So social media I'm not too far from you. So for us, the guys up there, we're kind of taking over because my daughter, she does the same thing. Dad, do these dancing. I was like, I can't do none of that stuff. So it's a lot of fun. I know Kelly's on TikTok, and you do all that stuff with your kids and stuff too. So
it's fun, but the kids are always showing me up. I'm not, when it comes to the dance moves, I'm gonna sit that one out. I'll be the cameraman, just like you, Brad.
so I got to tell you, I want to talk some football, and I want to start in college. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying that I know that your son Max plays for Texas A&M because I drove from Dallas. I flew into a game, and I wanted to see Miami. My Hurricanes were 1-0. We thought this was going to be our year last year, and A&M was highly ranked, and it was going to be the battle of the ages. It was a night game, so I drove from Dallas, flew to Dallas from Tampa, drove all the way down to A&M to watch the game, and I thought we were going to be playing a different quarterback. And my buddy said, "Hey, I think Max might be starting, and if he is, you guys might have a little bit of trouble because he's battle tested in the SEC. He played at LSU, and sure enough, man, he started, and it broke my heart, and really put our season in a downward spiral."
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, Max played really well at LSU. He had 35 touchdowns, 7 picks, and ran for 3 or 4 touchdowns and made a transfer. A lot of different reasons to get into that. But at Texas A&M last year, Max played 2.5 games. He broke his thumb, was out the rest of the year. So a lot of crazy things happened there. Can't really get on all that. But yeah, he beat. That was a big game against Miami. Had 108,000 people there at Kyle Field, and just it was electric atmosphere. For what was taken on, and both teams kind of tumble with all the injuries and stuff that took place in both organizations. But that was a great game. Great, it could have gone a lot of different ways that night.
Yeah, that fumble punt, I still, I was right at that end zone where it happened, and I kept telling the guy, "Don't touch it, don't touch it, don't touch it." He touched it. You hit us. We fumbled, and I think that kind of changed the game. As you can see, I'm still upset about it. Almost a year later.
No doubt.
What I wanted to say is that atmosphere was. It's like nothing I'd ever seen. And I'm a Miami guy. We don't have the tradition that those kind of schools have and get the crowds like in LSU and Alabama and all of them. But there was a time, and that's what I want to get to, where Miami in the OB and Florida State, that atmosphere was there. Now, would you agree or would you say, hey, I don't know? But I just thought back in the day in the Miami, Florida State, when they're both at their top, I don't know a better atmosphere, especially when it was in the Orange Bowl or at Doak Campbell Stadium.
No doubt. I mean, and honestly, at this time, I mean, really the national championship for the last 18, 19 years, I mean, I think 50, I'm making it up, like 15 of them have come through the SEC. And in the draft process, you see how many pros are coming out of the SEC. But back in the day, Florida State, we were independent. Mm-hmm. And we were in the Metro Conference, but independent football, kind of like Notre Dame is now. They're in the ACC, but independent football. But we always said at Florida State, whoever wins the state championship between Miami, Florida State, and Florida is probably going to win the national championship or play for it.
Yeah.
And in our time there, we beat Florida. We beat them 4 out of 5 years, but we lost to Miami 4 out of 5 years, and had the wide right, had the 2-point conversion.
Yeah.
But when you look back. How many players, it's amazing how many guys went to the NFL off both of those teams. It was a star-studded show now. And just a lot of respect between all the programs, but it was definitely between, that game was you always call it the game of the century. It was always come down to the wire. And whoever won that game played for the national championship. So it's pretty epic.
Would you say with Miami, Florida State, and Florida, at least as a Miami fan, I have a respect for Florida State. We don't like each other when we play, but there is a respect. I don't like Florida. I don't want to ever see them win. Does Florida State have that? And it always came back to Florida. We always say Florida ducked Miami. I don't know if it's true or not. You can maybe confirm or deny it, but it always seemed like Florida found their way out of playing Miami, especially in those days. And but Florida State and Miami always played every year. And to your point, both teams, even as fans, we knew if we didn't win that game, more than likely the national championship was going to that side and not ours. And I think one year you beat us, we won the national championships. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, the time when I was there at Florida State, Florida was down just a little bit. They'd gone on probation for a little bit and lost a little bit. But it was really between Miami and Florida State. At Florida State, we had a 14-year run, finished in the top 4. Went to 5 national championships, ended up winning 2. I didn't win it when I was there, but we were, it's always the game came down to Miami game. But there was a hatred at that time between this, but it's definitely respect because you knew that was the game what it was going to be about the whole year long. And it was different at that time too, because now you can lose a game and then kind of work your way back up. At that time, you couldn't work your way back up the way it kind of happened. So, but those were great battles, and still, I ended up being, a lot of buzz with a lot of those guys that I played against at Miami. And I'd be honest with you, there's a crazy thing about it. My brother-in-law is Mark Richt, who coached me at Florida State. He was the head coach at Georgia. Later went on to University of Miami. So, then I'm down there. We're doing the Canes, man. You know what I mean? It's the craziest thing. I'm changing hats and. Because there's a family thing, you know what I mean?
Can you do that? And that was going to be my question because with your son, at A&M and you're Florida State, because I like my son, not he's going to be playing sports, but he's more than likely, if he wants to go to college, he's not going to Miami. He's going to Florida State more than likely. That's the best opportunity for a state school and our prepay and all of that. Do you become a fan of that team? Like, I'm thinking to myself, would I have to become a Florida State fan? I don't know if I could do it.
Yeah, you got to, man. You got to dive in. You know what I'm saying? You just do it for your kid, but you always go back to your alma mater as a in your time. But yeah, it was definitely crazy. But for my kids, they almost they thought about Florida State, and thought about Miami, and all that kind of stuff. But really, they want to blaze their own trail, and they want to follow my footsteps. So they got their own thing going.
No, that's good, and I think both great kids, and I'm sure bright futures ahead, whether it's at the next level or your A&M looked like it's a phenomenal university just for an education. It just it's a great school, so I'm sure both of them will do well. And Kelly, unfortunately, he's a Texas Tech guy, right?
Yeah, we've never been to that mountaintop, so I can't really speak much to really great teams. I think the best one we had was in 2008 when they beat Texas with that Michael Crabtree catch. But outside of that, we haven't really had much success at the top rungs. But I'm a big Big 12 fan. A&M formerly in the Big 12, so I still kind of follow them a little bit and see some of that. So I'm sure that's pretty cool though, watching your kids play at the collegiate level. So do they ever pick your brain on anything, or do you find yourself just sitting back and being a father, or do you find yourself sometimes kind of wanting to enter into that that coaching and give them tips on what you see, just having played at the highest level?
Well, they got great coaches. So, and it's different, have Max as a quarterback and Jake as a tight end. So with the tight end, I don't know how to run routes or how to block, or you know what I mean? So our discussions just get open, and I become the prima donna dad, like quarterback, throw the ball to the tight end, you know what I'm saying? But with Max, there's a lot of conversations that take place, but it's at this stage it's more about how controlling your huddle and how you handle your teammates and kind of the process more than it is the plays, because I don't really know the plays, those kind of things. That's between the coaches and them. But he's been through it, understands it, and has got a bright future in front of him. So I'm kind of that dad in the stands eating popcorn and Coke, and just you got to take it. You know what I mean? You can't say look out for a blitzer and those kind of things. They're kind of on their own. Yeah,
no, that's good. So going from college, I always thought the interesting with Florida State is you really didn't, you didn't start a lot. I mean, you didn't play. I think Casey Weldon, he might have been ahead of you, which is always interesting when you look. And I think, and I'm not saying, I know it's Tom Brady day, he retired. I'm not comparing you to Tom Brady, so I don't want to say anything. But Tom Brady kind of had that in Michigan with Drew Henson, where he didn't start a lot. But at the next level, you blew, and nothing against, Casey Weldon, but you went past him on the next level, and you saw Tom Brady and Drew Henson. It wasn't that case. But I mean, what is it that kind of happened? Because I know that jump from the NFL to college. I mean, how do you go from a guy who just didn't get that starting job consistently to get to the NFL, and then all of a sudden, you're starting games, you're working your way in, and obviously we'll get into the Super Bowls and stuff. But how was that transition?
Well, real quick on that Tom Brady thing, because I was with Drew Henson, okay? Mm-hmm. Tom Brady's better, okay? I mean, all that hype, Gatorade Player of the Year and all that kind of stuff. I think Drew was a good player, but is it boosters talking? Is it the hype talking? Or who's the best player? Best player should always play. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Oh, I agree.
So you got this NIL stuff. Let the coaches coach. Let the players and coaches tell you who the players are. They will. Yeah. And so they'll all go back, and those Michigan guys, they'll tell you Brady was the dude. So,
well, we got fooled by we paid him a nice little contract in Dallas, and that didn't work out too well. But anyway.
Yeah. So, but no, I went to Florida State, and truthfully, I scored 2,400 points in basketball in high school. Okay, that was my love. I wanted to be like Larry Bird. Listen, look at my room here. Okay, see that? There's Larry Bird over there.
There he is, Larry Legend.
Right. So you kind of my room too. But you know what? I mean, I was a basketball nut, and so I was probably a little bit behind. I played 2 years of basketball at Florida State, and Casey Weldon, we were best friends, still are today.
Yeah.
I started my junior year, and then they replaced me with him, and he ran off, ended up being the runner-up to the Heisman.
Yeah.
And also in our room, we had Charlie Ward, who won a Heisman National Championship, and Chris Winkie, who won a Heisman National Championship. So ultra competitive in our room, but it just wasn't my time.
Yeah.
What my time. And the thing about it, though, I became a better player probably my third year in the NFL. Just I kept working at it, and I became in session, just learning the game and just becoming better at it. And then it, kind of propelled me in my career. So a lot of those are choices for kids that they're kind of out of your hands in college. But I was a 9th round pick, 227th pick of the draft, but it's about opportunity. But it's also, my dad says, it's better to be prepared and not have an opportunity than to have an opportunity and not be prepared. So a lot of times kids now, they get thrown into the fire way too fast. There's a first round pick, a high draft pick, and I was in a place, fortunately, they groomed me and I was able to develop, and then it kind of helped me. So when you look at a lot of players today, Mahomes, he sat his first 15 games under Alex Smith, and Aaron Rodgers sat 3 years. Brett Favre, he sat, and Tom Brady, he sat, and Eli Manning, he sat. I mean, Kurt Warner, he said, you can go through the whole list.
Yeah.
And there's something to that about earning your way. And that kind of happened for me too.
Yeah. And I think you, being in Minnesota, you had some great quarterbacks to kind of learn from as a young guy coming in, right? I think it was Jim McMahon there at one point. Warren Moon was
there they were. And then I had Rich Gannon and Sean Salisbury were the first two quarterbacks my very first year. And Wade Wilson, they let him go, who actually became my quarterback coach in Dallas at the end of my career. So, but I learned something from all those guys. I mean, ultra competitive with all of them. And, I learned how to deal with, how they dealt with success, touchdowns, wins, how they dealt with losses, interceptions, how you deal with the coordinators, how you deal with the media, like all that stuff, it comes into play. And so I was able to kind of be groomed that way. And then I actually went 1 year over and played the World League in 95. So that was, a chance for me to play, make mistakes, but being around those guys that were successful as a better quarterbacks and elite quarterbacks kind of helped me out.
Yeah, and going to the World League, was that, I can't remember. I remember the World League, and I remember there were some good guys that actually were over there. I think Kitna was in the World League. I think Kurt Warner might have been in the World League. There was some good quarterbacks. Was that your choice, or did the team kind of say, hey, kind of push you and say, hey, that we'd like to get you over there so you can get some live game action and experience?
Yeah. My first 2 years of practice in Minnesota, I didn't get a snap in practice.
Jeez. Wow.
Not practice.
Even
Jeez. Yeah, I'm talking about practice. None. Zero. I'm thrown into a net after practice on Tuesdays, or sometimes I go there after games, after 1 o'clock game, I go back to the facility and throw into a net that night. So that's part of the deal. So my third year, I got a little practice time. I was behind Warren Moon. So the league came back. It was really, it kind of went away like 1989, 1990, somewhere around there. And then it came back 5 years later. So I asked to go play in it. And there were 6 teams in the league. It was London, Scotland, Amsterdam, Barcelona, Dusseldorf, and Scotland. I think those were the teams. And but there's only 37 players on the team.
Wow.
37, 38. And 8 of those were foreigners.
Wow.
Had to be from that country. And one always had to be on the field at the same time. So it was tough. Not every quarterback that went over there had success. Like you could lose your career over there too now. Yeah. So, but the guys you mentioned, Jay Fiedler, Kurt Warner, John Kidna, it saved our careers. But I just need a chance to go make plays, make mistakes, and be the guy. So
lead a team.
Yep.
So
no doubt.
That's good.
So playing overseas, I know there's the NFL's made an emphasis on getting the fandom over there, and now you've got a lot of rowdy fans over there. They're really into it overseas. Were they like that when you were there? Was there a good fan experience compared to over here? Was there still a little bit of kind of catching on over there to be done?
Yeah, when they had the World Bowl, I think it was 1990. I'm making that up. It was either 89 or 90, somewhere around there. 91. Stan Gelball was the quarterback for the London Monarchs. And when they had the World Bowl, they played at Wembley Stadium, had over 90,000 people for the World Bowl.
Wow.
Okay. But when we came back in 95, we played at White Hart Lane. The field end zones were only 7.5 yards deep. We had a quarterback, Kevin McDougal. He dropped back. He fell the back of the end zone, hit his head against the wall because it dropped off 1.5 yards like that. And it was different. You know what I mean? We had about 10,000 people maybe show up for games.
Wow.
They got more excited over the punts. Like, whoa, look at how high the ball could go. You're having to teach them the rules,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, but I mean, obviously there's a plan for this thing. They play, they've been playing games in Tokyo, Germany, preseason games now, regular season games, obviously going back to London every year. You know they're going to put a franchise over there. You just think they're going to put – you got a feeling they're going to add 3 or 4 franchises over there. Right now, when I was in the league, there was 28 teams. Now there's 32. You got a feeling one day there might be 36. So that'd be a tough lifestyle for a
I was going to
player
say,
to live over there.
Player, would you want it that?
The NFL don't care. They don't care about you. I mean, it's tough. Paying taxes, living overseas, traveling back and forth. How do you do training camps? How do you do off season? How do you bring in players in and out each week on Mondays or Tuesdays to work out that you're trying to bring in? It's a mess. How do you deal with your families if you have kids want to live over there? Like, it's tough, but the league doesn't care about that. But they're going to grow the league however you want it, and it's coming.
Yeah. And I think, getting into some other stuff, I've interviewed a lot of I love the 70s. I love the 80s. You're the most current player I've interviewed, but you're old school too. So I mean, anyone who played for Florida State in the 80s, man, and early 90s, you're battle tested and you're the hitting and all of that stuff. But a lot of the players that paved that way and it kind of made the NFL what it is today, what's always bothered me is they kind of gotten forgotten. And I was talking to Doug Cosby, and he made an interesting point with the Cowboys is that there was 2 strike seasons. I think it was 82, 83, and then 87.
Yep.
And the 87, they fought for free agency. And 87 was the one where you had to band together. And what happened at the Cowboys was Tex Schramm had annuities put in certain players' contracts, and they knowing that there was going to be a strike coming up.
Yep.
And it kind of forced the hands of a Tony Dorsett, a Doug Cobb, Randy White, Everson, all these guys where if you didn't play, it would have cost them millions of dollars down the line in annuities that they would have had. So a lot of these guys crossed. And what he said was, a lot of kind of the demise in Dallas when it went downhill, it wasn't really the talent. The team became broken. And he made an interesting point that I'd never realized, and you played at Washington, so you probably already know it. The 2 years that Washington won the Super Bowl were the strike seasons. And he said that Joe Gibbs, he said either you all come or none of you come. Where no one's crossing unless it's all together. And I just think a lot of those sacrifices, a lot of those players made in those early years, it's disappointing that you see some of those guys. I mean, they're struggling and healthcare and all these things happen. And you say NFL's big business and they've got all that. You think they would kind of, help some of these guys out. It's really kind of sad to me the more I talk to a lot of these guys.
Yeah, it's sad. It's an honor to play in the NFL. It's incredible. It's a dream come true. But no, a lot of those guys are suffering, and they paved the way. And honestly, without free agency, think about it, a team, you could be the star on your team, and they could pay a backup for another team more money than you if they wanted to. And a lot of that was going on back in the day. But you got to be thankful for those guys that went on strike. You get it. Everybody has different situations and those kind of things. But they paved the way for what happened for free agency and for the guys today.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into some other stuff of your career because you had a tremendous career. I mean, you multiple Pro Bowls. Your record, a lot of people don't realize. I mean, your record was pretty damn impressive as a starter. I mean, it's up there with some of the greats and obviously winning the Super Bowl. But before we get into the Super Bowl year, you had some time in Washington. I don't want to talk about Washington years. I don't want to, especially if you beat Dallas those times. We don't want to hear about it. But I do want to hear you played at Washington. Then, obviously you were in Dallas, at the end of your career. How was that rivalry? Was it as built up as what it was, or was it kind of in the years you played, it wasn't as big as years past?
I grew up a Washington Redskin fan. I grew up in North Carolina, okay?
Yeah.
And just being honest. So at that time, there wasn't the Tennessee Titans, the Carolina Panthers, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like, the closest team was Atlanta. They stunk. Tampa, they stunk. I love the Redskins. And the day when Roger Staubach, when he led back there, I think they were up 34-17. He came back and he had that win. And I had a $5 bet with my dad, okay, on that game. I love the Redskins. And so when I lost, I came out and gave my dad all my pennies and nickels and dimes, and gave my dad. I was crying. We didn't make the playoffs, and my dad said, "Son, you've had a hard enough day. I think you can just keep your money, you know." And so I actually told that story to Roger Staubach, and so Roger's like, "Yeah, let me tell you what I checked to. I checked to this play. I checked to this play. I knew there were going to be this coverage, and I just thread them. I knew we could come back 17 points down." So, but I love Roger Staubach. Just because he was so great. Obviously won a couple of Super Bowls and all that. But as far as the rivalry with players, I can't say at that time it was just a hate situation.
Yeah.
You know, maybe in the 80s it was a hate situation. I mean, it's like, you know, if I'm catching a plane flight, I'm not flying through Dallas. I'm not flying through Washington, D.C. I'm not doing that. Like, it was that kind of hatred. Like in basketball, the Lakers and Celtics. Now you have a more friendly rivalries, not hatred, you know. And then, but there's a lot of respect. But we didn't have that back in the day. But we had some great games. Obviously, I only played 2 years in Washington, and it was kind of cool to have both sides actually, you know, play in Dallas and see it from the other side also.
Did you play in the game where Troy Aikman came back and we won? Were you the quarterback? Because I thought it was like 99 or 2000, and I think you were in Washington that year where I think Rocket Ismail had the game winning. You guys were up a lot. That's like flashback. You made me think of it when you were talking about the Roger Staubach game.
Yeah, we were up 21 points going the fourth quarter. They hit a touchdown. They did a crazy onside kick and then score again, then score again. The game went in overtime. We had a chance to kick a game-winning field goal right there at the end of the regulation, had a muff snap, and then didn't get to kick it. And then it went overtime the first play or two. Troy hit Rocket for a 80-yard bomb, and it was just, I think they, you know, won 41-35. It was just a crazy day. So it kind of happened. Unfortunately, I've been on both sides of those things.
Yeah, so you had some big. I'm thinking about your career. You've had some good matchups with some legendary quarterbacks too. So that's you played in that great era. I love that. You know, that I'm a '90s guy, so that's, you know, the '90s and early 2000s stuff. That's my time. So you played with some great ones. So, but going to the Cowboys, and I know Kelly will have a bunch of questions as we get into these Cowboys. You were there in 2007.
Yep.
So I know I get fueled up in 2000. I don't know if you get amped up in 2000. Kelly, you get amped up about 2007? I mean, this was, for Cowboys fans, 27 years in waiting. If I ever go to a season and say, boy, we had our shot as an organization, and man, we came up short, was 2007. How good was that team? I think they had like 11 or 13 Pro Bowlers that year.
No doubt. The team we were, I was backing up Tony Romo. I was near the end of my career. I was almost toast. But Tony, that was the first year he was really took over as the starter. That was his team. And Wade Phillips was the head coach. And I actually loved playing for Wade Phillips. I mean, he was so organized. He let the coaches coach, the players play. He ran a great practice schedule, great training camp schedule. Loved playing for Wade Phillips, one of my favorite of all time. And that year we were 13-3, dominant on offense. Tony was lighting it up. You said 11, 12 Pro Bowlers that year. Defense played tremendous. It was just a magical year, to be honest with you. And if it could go right, we remember the game went up to Buffalo. I think Tony had 5 interceptions. And we found a way to win that game. Like, it was that year. And Tony, that was the greatest plane ride I've ever been a part of.
Yes.
Tony had the iPod music just blasting like nothing had ever happened. I mean, it was a fun group of guys to be with. And Jason Witten became one of my best friends and all those kind of things. But we got to the playoffs, had the number 1 seed. New York Giants, they kind of got into the playoffs. They went down and beat Tampa. Yeah. They came to our place, and it was just a great game in that playoff game. And it could have gone either way. There were 2 or 3 plays that just changed the whole game. We had offsides. I think about our 40-yard line. It was a 3rd down call. They went a hard count, got us, and then jumped offsides because they were going to get ready to punt the ball, then end up scoring. And then we actually had a fake field goal that we were going to run in that game. And it was the first time that their team, the Giants, had lined up in a certain – it's like they knew. Like it's like they knew something. But could have gone both ways. And they ended up beating us. They beat Green Bay at Lambeau Field the next week in the cold, and then they won the Super Bowl against the Patriots. But it was a tough loss. That was one of the best teams I was ever part of.
Wow. And Kelly, you had any questions on the 2000 team before jump in?
Well, just to go back to that Buffalo game, the 5 interception game, just because I remember that game, and I mean, as you're watching that kind of unfold, because that was Romo's first full year as a starter. He'd taken over partway in 06. I mean, was there at any point in that time, or are you thinking I'm about to get put in this game, or were they just feeling like they were? I mean, 5 interceptions. I mean, I don't know that you can get much worse as a quarterback throwing 5 picks.
Tony was playing great. That was the thing. Like, he was making plays all over the field. And he'd tell you, like, oh my gosh, this happened and that happened. Like, it was kind of weird, you know what I mean? But Tony had a motor that he would not quit. He would not give up. And it was contagious within the team. Loved playing with him. It was a crazy game with interceptions, you know what I mean? But you got to, sometimes they happen. You got to pull the trigger and you just got to go. And I do remember at the end of the game, we actually kicked Nick Folk was our kicker. And I think we drew him off sides or something like that. And he ended up hitting 2 56-yard field goals he had to hit them in a row and to win it. And I can't tell you how great that plane ride home was.
I think it was a Monday or Sunday night game. I remember it was a night game because I remember
Sunday night game.
But the funny thing is with Tony Romo, his rookie year, the year that you guys beat us 10-6 was his first year, and I was Witten's rookie year. So I used to go to find the hotels where the players are at. You go find them and see him coming in, get some autographs or something. No one knew who Tony Romo was. I mean, he was a nobody. I mean, he was just like the 4th quarterback or whatever. So I'm in the hotel room and I got my helmet. First player I saw was Jason Witten, and barely knew who he was because he was a rookie, but he was a big guy, and I'm like, man, I said, Mr. Witten, can I, sign my helmet? And he signed my helmet. And then I'm sitting in the lobby, and it's hard to which player is what. And I see a guy. I said, God, that looks like that guy Tony Romo. I remember they were typing him up in preseason. He was standing all by himself. No one even gave 2 craps about him. Nothing. So I said, Mr. Romo, can I, you mind signing my helmet? He signed it. So I have this helmet. I don't know how it happened. I got Tony Romo and Jason Witten on my helmet, the only 2 guys I got at the thing. It couldn't have worked out better. But talking about Romo and just, I've always said, he was a victim of being a Dallas Cowboy. And that's why I'm curious of your thoughts of the road show and the pressures and how much pressure do you see in Dallas that you don't see in other places? Because I'll stand by it. If he was on any other team, he would be looked at as just an amazing story of a guy who was undrafted. He was on the practice squad. He kind of moved himself up to become, one of the better quarterbacks in that generation, one of the top quarterbacks in the generation. But because he played for the Cowboys, it's almost, and I will get into a little bit later with Dak, is the pressure in Dallas just so much where these guys, if you don't win a Super Bowl, man, you're a loser. And that's just the way it is.
Yeah. I think, well, listen, I think Tony got a lot of hype in Dallas, good and bad, but I thought Tony was a hell of a quarterback. I mean, he was tough, way more athletic than people know of. I mean, honestly, like, he was the best playmaker. I played with Rich Gannon, Jim McMahon, Warren Moon, Randall Cunningham, Dante Culpepper, like, the list goes on. Jeff George, like, he was the actual best playmaker that I was with. I remember we had a game against St. Louis, and the ball was snapped over his head about 20 yards or 30 yards, and most quarterbacks would fall on it. And he picked it up and ran for about 45 yards back. And I remember him telling about it. He's like, yeah, Brad, most people, quarterbacks just fall on it. So the defense, they'll just like, they'll ease up. So they didn't think I was going to run with it, but he did. You know what I mean? That was kind of Tony.
Yeah.
But just a great player. And so, the hype in Dallas, it is. It's America's team, okay? Listen, ESPN, they got an office in the headquarters there. You're going to be on ESPN every day.
Yeah.
You're going to be covered. And it's going to be, with Jerry Jones, it's all news is goodness, good or bad. It's coming out. And, it's the hype of it. I remember coming to training camp, there's 3 trucks of memorabilia, of hats and T-shirts and, all the above. Like, and you go, on the sidelines before games, looks like a Super Bowl every week. Like, it's 100 people, stars and celebrities on the sidelines. So the hype is there, but in the end, it's the same. The organization is the same. It's hard work. You got to earn your keep, got to earn your way. And unfortunately, we didn't do it at the time, but it's definitely, it gets more hype. With Dallas, you're going to have you're gonna have the night games. You're gonna have the 4 o'clock game. You're gonna have the Sunday night game, the Monday night game. Like with an average team like Tampa Bay before Tom Brady got there, you're gonna have the Sunday at 1 o'clock game.
Mm-hmm.
With Dallas, it doesn't matter who the quarterback or how good or bad the team is. You're gonna have night games. You're gonna, you're gonna be. It's the hype that comes with it. And that's with Jerry Jones too.
And how was Jerry Jones as an owner? I mean, did you interact with him much, or do you see him being just? Do you a lot of people kind of put it on him a little bit? Do you see him being some of the I don't want to say the issue, but just the distraction that maybe is stopping this team from winning? I always say it's the players play, man. The owner, I mean, it still comes down to the players, but I hear a lot of that, and he gets a lot of heat for it. I mean, do you notice anything different, or is it negative, or?
No, I like Jerry. I mean, he was fun he'd come in the locker room, he'd sit down and by your locker and talk to you, or on the practice field, he'd kind of hang out and, say something, and just pretty normal guy when it came to all that kind of stuff. But Jerry's going to do the interview after the game. Mm-hmm. He's going to be in the locker room. He's going to have the first interview. He's going to have more press than some of the players are, But I like Jerry, and I appreciate him. And I actually remember him coming down the sidelines, and I was talking to him one time. And I was telling him, hey, the plays we're going to throw to the right on this. We're throwing this ball to T.O. or this ball is going to be a run. And he said, Brad, I don't care about all that. I'm just down here to cheer for the team, And so I enjoyed playing for Jerry. Got a lot of respect for him. And I'll be honest with you, when I left, I was only in Dallas 2 years. And they let me go at the very end. I was done. I mean, my knees were gone, arm was done. But he called me and just said, Brad, thank you for being a Cowboy. And obviously didn't go where we wanted to go, but anytime you need a job, or if I can give you a resume builder or whatever it may be, just always feel free to contact me and call me. You just felt that connection a little bit with Jerry.
Yeah. And the nice thing is I don't know. I know this. You had one win in Dallas. You know who you beat, right?
I beat Tampa, no doubt.
They had to feel good.
Yeah, I beat Tampa in a Minnesota jersey, a Washington jersey, and a Dallas jersey. So don't let them tell you they did everything down there. I beat their ass too.
And the beauty of it is you did something I don't know if any Cowboy was able to do. Is you got Roy Williams a touchdown.
That's right. Threw him a fade. On the goal line right at the end of the half. So
I was at that game. I remember it. Oh man, But just finishing up on Dallas, I was curious because I wanted to know how you felt about Jerry, because I don't know if you know, we're close to Jerry. And I got Jerry Jones wants to come in and talk to you. And he wants to just kind of say a few things to you about your career in Dallas and maybe your NFL career. So Jerry Jones, can you join the show?
Well, Bradley, it's been a long time. But I just wanted to say you were always a class act with the Dallas Cowboys. I couldn't have been more proud. When I brought you in to the organization, I thought we had ourselves, I said, this is a prize stallion, a man who's been to the Kentucky Derby and won it. And I figured you'd been able to rein in that young colt in Tony Romo. And the only bone I would have to pick with you on that is going into the playoffs here now. Romo and Witten head on out to Cancun. And I was thinking, my guy, Brad, where were you on that one? I mean, I'm not saying you cost me a 6th Super Bowl, but I figured you wrap them youngsters on the head and say, you can't go to Cabo on the bye week when we got a big game versus the Giants the next week. But, I mean, what are you going to do? I guess when it comes down to it, all things are forgiven, and it was great having you on the team.
You're better than Jerry.
He does a phenomenal Jerry Jones. He even got Jimmy Johnson retweeted one of his things. It's like, man, you do an impeccable Jerry Jones. But yeah, I thought you'd get a kick out of that.
I love it. Golly, you fired me up. I wish I would have been down there in Cabo myself. They had a good time.
Speaking of that, though, like, do you think that, because they got a lot of heat for that after that, they got, go in there, you're number 1 seed, lose that game. Obviously, there's some plays that could have, swung in our favor, like you had said, where we could have won that. But do you really think that? I mean, do you think that has any type of effect on it? The fact of players. I mean, because you always hear about what players should be doing in their off weeks and stuff. Do you think that has anything to do preparation wise or anything other than that? I mean, what was your kind of opinion on that at the time? It got a lot of heat in the media and through fans.
Yeah, it got a lot of hype, a lot of talk. Holy smokes! I mean, it went viral. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no, it had nothing to do with the game at all. Tony and Jason Witten, they both had great games. To be honest with you, it didn't. There wasn't that many possessions. When you go back, I think it was like 7 possessions, 8 possessions. Like it's just it could have gone either way. But no, we had a couple of days off there. A lot of guys, honestly, guys may have been doing more things in Dallas than they were at Cabo. They just had kind of relaxed. It was a good time. Nothing crazy. Honestly. So there's nothing to it. Guys on the team didn't care anything about all that. And, they're great warriors and, loyal to the team and what they've done. So that was really no big deal at all. It had nothing to do with the game besides just the media attention. But that didn't take anything away from what happened in the game. We just got beaten in a close game. They were the world champs that year.
Yeah. And I think it's what I, always say, and I'm sure any given Sunday. I mean, that's why all these guys, you want to get in the playoffs, you want to get the best seed that you can get. But I mean, you've seen it, in some games, this season in the playoffs, you just don't know what's going to happen. I mean, Cincinnati goes into Buffalo and manhandles them. You just don't know. And then you got San Francisco. You look at Philadelphia, and it's no disrespect to Philadelphia. They've been the most consistent team, but I mean, they play a Giants team that kind of, overachieved a little bit. And then they go against the 49ers, and 49ers is both their quarterbacks. So it's like, but all you want are those opportunities, and you never apologize for a win, and that's why I give the Giants credit is they still had to go to Green Bay and win. And on top of that, they still had to go beat Tom Brady. So it was a tough road it would have been a tough road for either team. But talking of just a few minutes on the Super Bowl. So that Super Bowl season, I lived in Tampa. I'm living in Tampa now. I had to suffer through it, but I got caught up in it. I think there's something cool when a town you go through that, and especially the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they've gone through, so much before that team came. And obviously what I think Sam Weiss doesn't get some of that credit he deserves, but he drafted Sapp and Lynch and Brooks, and then Tony Dungy took it to another level. And then John Gruden, I guess, he was the icing on the cake to kind of put it all together. What's your thoughts on that season? Because it was just a magical season for Tampa, dominant defense. I mean, you obviously had WD-40 and yourself and Keyshawn, Keenan McCardle. I mean, you had a great offense on top of it. People don't give the offense enough credit. I know the defense was great, but you guys had some playmakers there too.
Yeah, Gruden came in there, and listen, we'd been close quite a few years there in Tampa, and then Gruden came in, and then he brought in a bunch of free agents too. Now we brought in 15 to 17 guys. Tom Brady, when he came in, they brought in I think 11. Mm-hmm. So not that you can buy teams, but sometimes you can upgrade. We made a lot of upgrades. We really did, and so it was a magical year. Obviously, we went 3-1 every 4 games. Ended up being 12-4. We got hot at the end of the season and just came in rolling. Gruden gave us the belief that we could do it, and we beat our nemesis, Philadelphia, who had beaten us like the last 3 or 4 times. Beat us earlier in that year,
and we love you for that.
Yeah, no doubt. But it. I was on that team in Minnesota that was 15-1. I was on so many teams that went to the playoffs, but you got to have everything go your right way. You got to be healthy. You got to be playing good. You got to have a good. What people didn't understand that year when we went to the playoffs, I missed the last game of the year with Chicago, but we needed Green Bay Colts beating. The Colts beat, I think the Jets or Colts beat Green Bay the last game of the season. So when they did that, we got a bye. Otherwise, I would have missed the first game. We might have lost. I came in healthy. So you just we became the 2 seed instead of the 5th seed. So many things would come into play, but we had 3 guys that made the Hall of Fame, and Lynch, Sapp, and Brooks, and then hopefully Rondé will make it here the next week or so. Yeah. And then maybe Simeon Rice. But our offense was way more talented. It doesn't get a lot of credit, but had some great players on there. And we were a team that didn't, try to put up get the cheap yards at the end of the game where you were it makes your ranking look better than what it is. But we averaged 28 points a game last 11 games of the season. So, but there's only 35 quarterbacks that ever won the Super Bowl. There's only 31 that are living. And to be one of those guys and to say you're going to Disneyland after a game with confetti falling on your face, it's pretty incredible.
Yeah. And I don't know if you do it, but I know you do cameos. I don't know if you do them much, but you had a line in there, and I'm going to steal it from you one day.
Okay.
You said that I go to bed every night by my Super Bowl jersey so I can wake up every morning smelling like a champion.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. That night, we after it was over, I slept in my jersey. I never washed my jersey, still has the grass stains on the back. A lot of times when I go speak at different functions, I'll actually wear it. But yeah, woke up smelling like a champ for the rest of my life to be a part of that. And it was incredible. Confetti was falling on our face that night. Then I went and did the Jay Leno show. Then went and did the Super Bowl parade in Tampa. And it's amazing all the things that kind of come with it. And so grateful that we had that team.
Yeah, no, it was a special season. Hopefully, maybe Dallas can, we could kind of get it one of these days. But do you watch much football now? Are you an active NFL guy, or are you more college, or do you keep up with the game much?
Yeah, I love football. I love watching all of it. And I don't play fantasy football, and I know every player. I don't do all that. I don't get it. I don't. I don't throw my pillow at the TV if somebody loses.
Like some of these idiots do on these videos.
Yeah.
Oh, but I enjoy it though, So I love great football. I love to see, how people handle 2-minute situations. I love, the playoff football, like just, all the strategy that's involved with it. So,
yeah.
But I like it from that standpoint.
Did you have any thoughts on? Oh, go ahead, Kelly. I'm sorry.
No. I was just gonna say when you're talking about great football plays, that's one of the things I love always to see a play that sticks out that something that you'll always remember. And I was looking up something about you, and I found that you're one of only 2 players in the NFL to have ever thrown a touchdown pass to yourself.
Yeah.
I found that incredible. I didn't see the highlight. I didn't watch it, but like, how did that happen? I mean, it's obviously not a player drawn up on the sideline. Like, how did that whole thing go down? Because that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it was 1996. We were playing the Chicago Bears. The Carolina Panthers when I was in Minnesota. The play was called dot left spear, rip Dallas. Basically, it was a stick flat to my left to the tight end. I dropped back. I threw the ball. I went on the 3-yard line. The ball got batted back to me. So you can never make 2 forward passes. And so I caught it and scrambled around and dove into the end zone. And then at the time, it was just a touchdown. And then after the game, they said, hey, it counted as a touchdown pass, touchdown catch to yourself. First time in history it's ever been done. It won an ESPY award for Play of the Year. It's just it's kind of one of the highlights of my career to kind of be one of the guys that done that. And so it's pretty cool moment,
Yeah, I was gonna say that maybe that's one of those things where it's like, that's how many times do you see that? Like I said, it's only you, and then Marcus Mariota did it, several years back. But that's pretty incredible to have a play like that, and probably one of the more memorable plays. Outside of winning the Super Bowl that you've had through your career, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's unique. A lot of times, I think Brett Favre's very first pass he ever caught was to himself. But a lot of times it's out in the field, and you're really taught to knock it down because if you catch it, you're actually going to lose yards or it could get intercepted. Right. Those kind of things. So it was just a unique play. If I'd have been on the 4-yard line, I might have been 1 yard short. So it kind of worked out,
Yeah, exactly.
Well, talking about the Cowboys, just briefly, if you kept up with them this year, the thoughts of how their season ended, some issues at quarterback. You saw the coordinator. They were teammates. They were together a while, and I thought maybe it was just a change needed to be made for the betterment of probably Kellen Moore and Dak Prescott. Everyone wants to kind of pit everyone against each other. Sometimes it's just a fresh start, and the Cowboys are hitting the same wall. They're getting out in the playoffs by the 49ers both times. They're maybe underachieving, maybe not. I don't know. But it just seems like there's talent on this team that should go further. What's your thoughts of Dak Prescott? Have you seen him much, or him as a quarterback and a leader? It seems like he's got everything there. It's just they haven't been able to get over the hump for whatever reason.
Yeah, I remember talking to Jason Witten about him, and he loved him. Thought he was the ultimate. He was a leader. Mm-hmm. A leader. and guys respected him. He worked hard, all those kind of things. He's played winning football. You look at his numbers, he has winning percentage as far as what he's done in the regular season, high touchdown to interception ratio, those kind of things. But, the way it's set up now, it is what it is.
Yeah.
You got to win Super Bowls, okay, to go down if you want to be remembered as one of the greats. You do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's been a lot of guys play, but I told you, there's only 35 guys that have ever won it.
Yeah.
It's so freaking hard to win it. Like, you got to be lucky. You got to be good. You got to have a great team around you. Like, it's just, you got to have all the right things take place. And so it doesn't happen, but they, if you keep putting, this year they have the number 2 seed. Okay. Played great football. And then Cooper Rush, you got to give him credit too. He won 4 games this year, but I thought Dax played great overall. And it's crazy how Kellen Moore gets fired, and then I think Skip Peets, and then Doug Nussmeier. So a lot of changes taking place, and they'll do what's best for the organization. But no, Dallas, you should appreciate Dak. When you get a quarterback, you better ride his coattails, because they just don't fall off the tree the way to have a true leader back there. You want to have somebody that's consistent over time. So be thankful for what you have.
Well, that's what Michael Irvin was pretty animated about it. He just told the Cowboy fans, they need to just, shut up, because quarterbacks aren't easy to find, and they, and to get a top quarterback, they just don't fall out of the sky and just put them down in the grocery aisle. It's very, very hard, and people forget the years between Aikman and Romo. I can give you the laundry list of quarterbacks that the Cowboys went through before they've got one. I mean, not every organization is going to go from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers. I mean, my whole childhood is all I know at Green Bay is Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. And then you got, obviously, even you can talk about Bledsoe and Tom Brady. That's Bledsoe was a pretty damn good quarterback too, went to a Super Bowl. So not many teams have that. A lot of teams are the Jets. A lot of teams are the Browns. A lot of teams are where you just can't find a quarterback. And I think Dak has the tools. I think, they've got to, maybe get a little, support around him, maybe a fresh start, maybe a fresh, set of eyes, technique. Maybe I'm no quarterback, but maybe another guy coming in with maybe see something a little bit different, can make a little change here or there and a little tweak, and maybe because Dak's proven to win big games. He's won big games. He's put up big numbers. So you can't say he can't do it. It's just in the playoffs, they played pretty damn good defense. You got to give credit to San Francisco, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Kelly, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's it's one of those things that, like Brad said, and I echoed this on a show that me and Mike were talking on a couple weeks ago. Fair or not, your legacy is based on how you perform in the playoffs. And it's like one of those things where I told him, unfortunately for Romo, with only having 2 playoff wins, it'll be something that he gets remembered for. He's a great athlete, great quarterback. Same thing for Dak Prescott. I see a lot of the same similarities so far and kind of how their career has come. They haven't been able to really get over that hump. But, just talking about, Dak and Kellen Moore and the weapons around him, that the whole thing in Dallas this year was the lack of weapons? Was it the lack of creativity and Kellen Moore's offense? Dak led the league in interceptions despite, missing those 5 games. That was a big talking point. And he probably be the first to say he played a pretty poor game versus San Francisco. You can't turn the ball over in those situations that he turned it over in. But in terms of like Dallas, just in general, just from what you've seen, would you contribute more? What do you think? What did you think about Dallas's offense in general, as far as like maybe their play calling, or was it the lack of maybe talented wide receivers he had around him? Because outside of CeeDee Lamb, he didn't have a lot, or is it some things where you just, as a quarterback, you just have a little bit of an unlucky year? I know a lot of those interceptions were tipped passes, whatnot. So receivers running wrong routes. What would you say, I guess, the biggest issue in Dallas was, just from, your opinion?
Well, I don't live it every day like you guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
right. Yeah.
I kind of get.
He hears that ESPN stuff. He's already.
Yeah. Yes. But it's as a quarterback, you're the hero, you're the GOAT. I always call it kind of running through the gauntlet. Like when you throw a touchdown, everyone's patting you on the back. Whenever when you throw an interception or you lose, or they want to point the guns at you. You know what I mean? So, but I give Dak a lot of. He stands up to the mic and he answers the questions. You know what I mean? And sometimes you can tell some, say some, but you can't tell it all. but I think he handles the media in a good way.
Yeah, he did.
And as a when you're a quarterback, interceptions happen. Like there's three different ways they happen. One, you make a bad read, okay, but then you have tip balls, you have Hail Marys. They happen in a lot of different ways. So usually interception is about 30% your true fault. So a lot of times, and so Dak had some crazy interceptions this year with just tip ball. I bet he had 5 or 6 where it hit a guy's hands, it popped up, and those things happen. Okay, but they add up, and then because Dallas is bigger and there's more, it just compounded with the media and the hype behind it, and that became the storyline behind it all. At the end of the day, Dallas still won 12 games. You're playing. You won the first playoff game in Tampa. Hadn't beaten them in 2 or 3 times since the last couple of years. So and go to San Fran was a hot team in San Fran. So it just didn't happen. So I'm not going to pour gasoline on that fire with Dallas. I like the organization, and I think they got the players to still do it.
Yeah, no, I definitely think they've got, they're there. I mean, they're still one of the youngest teams in the NFL. People don't realize it. So I think the future's bright. So, Kelly, do you have anything else to add? Because I know we've taken a lot of the man's time. Is there anything we've missed?
No, I don't think so, man. That was great. You had some. Well, you know what? Actually, I did. I had one question before we wrap that up. So, you haven't played with all these different organizations, college and NFL. You've played with, Hall of Famers. I'm sure that the list goes on and on. Who would you say the most gifted, just in general, athlete that you played football with? That you just, whenever he was on the field, it was just, you wanted to be a spectator. You wanted to watch him because he's just kind of jaw-dropping type athlete.
I thought Chris Carter had the best hands I ever played with. Okay, now you got some guys that are making some spectacular catches too, but I thought he had the best hands. The 2 most jaw-dropping athletes I was ever with was I had Deion Sanders at Florida State, and then I played with him 1 year in Washington, but played against Deion in the pros. Incredible. I thought he was the best corner I ever played against. Okay. The other one was Randy Moss. He changed the game. I mean, he became I think Chris Carter had the best hands, but I thought Randy Moss had he was the best deep threat guy to ever play the game. And you had defenses, you had organizations they were drafting corners just because of Randy Moss. They switched and they went safeties up, put their corners back and cover 2 so they could just try to bat the ball down. So those are the 2 most explosive players, Deion Sanders and Randy Moss.
Well, unfortunately for the Dallas Cowboys, we got to live through the Randy Moss revenge tour after Jerry Jones decided not to pick him up. Every time he played the Cowboys, he took it out on us. It was just like he was reminding us, like, you should have drafted me. And boy, I know us fans would sure have liked it if Randy Moss would have been wearing a star on his helmet.
Oh, no doubt.
You know what? But let me say something real quick about that too. Randy came to the perfect place. Okay, he did. Yeah. And he'd been through a lot of trouble through, a little bit of Notre Dame, Florida State. They ended up at Marshall. Phenomenal player. I love Randy Moss. I thought he was an awesome person, great player. But having Denny Green, having Chris Carter, Jake Reed as mentors, and then Brian Billick was the coordinator for us. It was a perfect scenario for Randy as a freshman. As a rookie to look up to in our system. It was the perfect scenario for Randy Moss.
Yeah. And I'll echo, and I'll say this because Michael Irvin has said it before, so I'm not saying anything he didn't, but he takes a lot of the blame for the Cowboys not drafting him because during that time, right, that year before, he got in a lot of personal issues, and he even said that he went to the best place because going to Dallas with some of the stuff that he was going through and some of the other things that some of that team was kind of going through, it probably wouldn't have been the best locker room for him, wouldn't have been the best environment for a young football player with that much talent. So even Michael Irvin said it was the best thing,
for his career
to get with, Chris Carter, yourself and, Cunningham, all the guys that were there. It was unfortunate that he took it out on us that way. It could have been a little easier especially on Thanksgiving. That was the most unbelievable performance I ever seen from a rookie. I think 3 catches, 3 touchdowns, 150 yards, or whatever it was. It was crazy. It was absolutely insane. But, I had so much to talk to you about, but I want to just kind of touch on a little bit each and just really just thank you, Brad, because you were awesome. And the stories and watching those TikToks, You are Big Bad Brad. I mean, you seem like you interact with fans so well, and I could just say as being a fan in my younger days, I'm not as starstruck anymore, but my kids are, and when they see it and to see athletes like yourself that are approachable, that got a good sense of humor, that stay grounded. I just think it's an awesome thing. But I do understand there's probably a price that you pay for that. You get hounded in a lot of places that you probably, you'd love just to sit and relax and have a cheeseburger and watch a beer in a sports bar. But I do want to recognize that because I've seen a lot of your social media stuff and your interviews, and you're very, very interactive and approachable.
Yeah, no, I enjoy it. And I'm at an age now, 54, that I can do whatever I want to do. But I really, with the TikTok stuff and social media things, I try to make it fun for people and try to interact with, all those people, let them kind of feel a part of it. Some stuff that kind of goes on.
Yeah. So, but I thank you. Is there anything else you need that you want to plug, or we got your TikTok? Is there anything else you want to give a shout out to, or?
No, I think we're all good. Yeah, all good.
All right, man. Well, we're going to hang tight because I want to just wrap something up with you, but I appreciate it. Thank you for being on the show.
Yes, thanks very much.
The rest of Cowboys Nation, you just saw a Super Bowl champion coming into the cave with Kelly Canine, and I had a great time. So make sure you guys keep it up. I've got Charlie Waters. We're talking 2-time Super Bowl champion with the Cowboys, been to 5 Super Bowls, never had a losing season, is going to be coming into the cave, and we're going to be talking some Dallas Cowboy, just strictly Dallas Cowboy football with him, and that'll be dropping next week. So I appreciate it. You guys take care. Thank you. Have a great time, and thanks for joining in. See you. Kelly, sign off.
Yes, sir. Cowboys Nation, tune back in for another one next week.
All right. Take care, man. Yeah, let me bring it back.
You know your boy's gonna be there. You know I'm gonna be hyped. I need you guys to be hyped with me. You feel what I'm saying? Now can you dig it?